Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. I see you in here, Camille from YouTube. What's up, girl? You got on here early. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Today is Thursday, January the 20th, 2022. And it's time for the headlines with News in Motion. I am your host, Gail Dudley. Whether you are watching live or the replay, whether you're listening audio or watching the video, the live video, I just want to say good morning to you if you're live. If you are watching this later on in the day, I don't know if it's afternoon or evening, I just want to say good afternoon or good evening to you. But beyond all of that, I am just so excited that you have allowed me this opportunity to spend some time with you. Good morning, Sardinia. Good morning, Lori. Good morning, Jeffrey Allen James. Good morning to all of you. Again, when you hear me say good morning, this is the live show that I'm seeing people come in here. But no matter where you are, I just want to say hello to you. What's up, Katrina? What's up, Diane Ladybug? What's up? On the audio, I want to yell out Michael and Katrina and Kayla and Lisa. And Susan. So these are people from the audio said, just shout out my name. So I wanted to shout out their name this morning. Hello, Marion Jackson. Good morning to you as well. Y'all, today's news, it's going to be some learning. There's a couple of high schools that are coming in as well. They're not on here yet, but we want to give a shout out to them as well. I'm not for sure how many, but there are a couple. They know that on Thursdays, I normally do some sort of breakdown, and they were all wondering if I was going to talk about the presidential news conference that took place yesterday. And of course I am. I see you, Diane Ladybug. I see you, Kenny Stanley. What's up, Danielle? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, Deborah Johnson? What's up? Y'all, so yeah, we have a lot of news. So I am going to take my time. Good morning, Hester, and break it down. We're going to do it within the time that we have. Yeah, I have to be honest. I was thinking the other day, just looking at how far we've come as a digital news broadcast. Diane says, so mad, don't know why there has to be a bill to vote. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute as well. It can become a heavy morning. Good morning, Shirley Nicholson. It could become a heavy morning, but we're not going to allow it to be. We're just not going to allow it to be. So I was thinking about the other day how far News in Motion, the digital broadcast, has come from day one. And do y'all remember, those of you, because there's many of you who've been here from day one, do y'all remember I was in my office sitting on a sofa, giving like a 5-minute recap of news, and then that was it. And then it grew to probably 7 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, and now we're about 35, 45 minutes. Well, that has been happening. So I was looking at that growth. Good morning to my brother, Liz Pryor. I was looking at that growth to see how we have grown over the last year and a half. And I must say, it's really exciting to see that growth. It's really exciting to see it. Numbers fluctuate up and down. There's people who have written in and said, good morning, Stephanie, written in and said, I loved it. I was watching you when it was like 5 to 7 minutes. Now I can't watch it because it's longer, but I miss it. And I would say to people like that, and I have responded this way, I said, well, we've now crafted the segment so that the headline news are still the first pieces of news. So even if you just come on for those 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to get the news headlines after I do the introductions, of course. And I said, and then we go in to unpack certain things. I said, so you can still grab it if you want it, And again, I know there are hundreds of thousands of different news sources out there. So this one may not be for you, but please find a place that's giving you factual information, giving you those facts, or take it upon yourself to go research those facts. Diane Ladybug says, yes, and watching the background change. Yep, the background changes a lot. 57 years later, and we're still fighting for voting rights. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, y'all, and I know that's hard. What's up, Lee? How you doing? Now, you had COVID, right? Tell us how you're doing with that. All right, y'all, it is Thursday, January the 20th, 2022, and it's time for Headline News on News in Motion. I am your host. Yes, I am, Gail Dudley. Again, we are headed into our 2-year anniversary, and we're really excited about that. Whether you are watching live or the replay or audio or the video, I just want to say hello to you. And I am so glad that you decided to tune in right here with us. On News in Motion. So you can hit that share link, y'all. Just stop what you're doing while the intro is coming on. Hit that share link and invite somebody to come and join us this morning. Let's go. Yes, let's get started. First thing, many of you know we were supposed to have a guest on today, Daquan Love, who's the Executive Director of State of Virginia's NAACP. He is unable to join us this morning due to an emergency, but hopefully we can get him rescheduled in the next week or two. So he will not be here with us today. And it's amazing for me how God works things out, because after I started unpacking the presidential news conference, I said, wow, we can really fill a lot of this time with that, which that's not what we're going to do, because we have a lot of news to share with you. So y'all, let's get started. Let's start with Instagram. Many of you are talking about, I'm not hitting the paywalls or the firewalls or whatever. I'm not going to pay for news. I'm not going to pay for social media. Well, that's what everything is turning to. So TechCrunch is reporting that if you're willing to pay for a monthly subscription, Instagram announced a subscription feature yesterday that will grant users access to exclusive stories and lives, plus add a purple badge next to their name that's visible to creators. And it may help your chances for some DM slides from some celebrities or influencers. Now, some of the other details: the feature is part of a limited test that's rolling out to just about 10 creator accounts, including Olympic gymnast Jordan Childs. Creators can charge anywhere from 99 cents to $99 per month for their subscriptions. This is Instagram CEO Adam hailed reoccurring payments as one of the best ways to have a predictable income that's not dependent upon people's heartening individual posts. Meta, is pledged to not take any shares of the new revenue stream until at least next year. So there will be some accounts. So hear me, y'all. There will be some accounts that you will have to pay a subscription when it comes to Instagram. That's just crazy to me, but hey, that's what's happening. Y'all, Star Tribune is reporting, and this news can somewhat get buried with all the other news that's happening. Jury selection in the trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers involved in the arrest that led to the murder of George Floyd begins today. The highly anticipated trial follows the March murder conviction of former officer Derek Chauvin, who was sentenced to more than 22 years in prison for Floyd's death. So that is happening today. I don't want that to get lost in everything else that's going on, so I wanted to pull that out. Y'all, the University of Michigan will pay $490 million to settle claims from 1,050 people who say they were sexually assaulted by former sports doctor Robert Anderson. Of the total, $460 million will go to individuals, while $30 million will be set aside for future claims, the university said on yesterday. I see you, Kim Edmondson. Good morning. All right, y'all. ESPN is reporting that the NCAA, I get those initials messed up. The NCAA announced a new policy on yesterday in which the eligibility requirements for transgender athletes will be determined by each sport's national governing body. The new requirements will go into effect immediately. All right, y'all. U.S. Airlines on yesterday canceled a number of flights following Federal Aviation Administration warning the 5G wireless rollout could interfere with certain airline technology. I don't know about you all, but my phone comes up 5G with Verizon. And it's just interesting because who would have ever imagined that 5G would interfere or could possibly interfere with airlines, with commercial airlines? So that's a little concerning to me. I see you, Mary Jenkins. Good morning. Y'all, check this out. So, sometimes Starbucks is with you, sometimes Starbucks isn't with you. Starbucks drops proposed employee vaccine requirement following last week's Supreme Court ruling. So, Starbucks said, hey, y'all, you know what? We're going to come on out of here. We're not going to propose this on the employees. So, that's what's happening when it comes to Starbucks. Y'all, the Supreme Court, again, one day they're up, the next day they're down. This time they were up for those of us who wanted to see it. And I know I did, so it was an up thing for me. The Supreme Court on yesterday refused a request from the former President Donald Trump to block the release of White House records concerning the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Now, only Clarence Thomas noted a dissent. So probably some of you are saying, and I see some of the high schools coming in. So you're probably saying, what's a dissent? That's all right. I went and pulled out my old records, did my own research, pulled out a great paper by Mark Kelly that I won't read it, but I'm going to just give to you some of this information. A dissenting opinion is an opinion written by a justice who disagrees with the majority opinion. So the number was 8-1. The vote was 8-1. So the one is Clarence Thomas who dissent. Now, pause right there. Again, when you're unpacking this, you have to be asking the questions. And one of the questions for me turned to what are his grounds or reasoning for dissent? Now, he has to do a written argument for that, which he's done. I won't read it. You can go to Supreme Court of the United States, the initials SCOTUS.gov, and read his dissent. You can read it there. What's up, Mike Nicholson? I'm so glad to see you in here. So get this, y'all. Get this. Now, when you think about, okay, Clarence Thomas was the one who dissent. Well, you have to start following the dots. Y'all just don't say, oh, he's dissent. That's it. No, there's a reason why he dissent. Most recently, Clarence Thomas's wife, hello, somebody, his wife, which pause right there, which really should send a message that maybe he needs to be impeached from the justice bench. Because there's a conflict of interest here. There are partisan politics happening here, which shouldn't be. He should be following the law of the land and not like, well, my wife's over here still working with this Trump organization or not organization campaign and some things she's signing and some things she's doing. Just Google her. You'll see her latest involvement with what's going on. Yeah, that's happening, y'all. These are things that you have to be asking. So why did this one dissent? You look at that. So could be, I won't say it is, it could be his wife's involvement. So he had to write an argument of dissent. So that's where that comes from. In the U.S. Supreme Court, any justice can write a dissenting opinion, and this can be signed by other justices. No one signed it but him. Judges have taken the opportunity to write dissenting opinions as a means to voice their concerns or express hope for the future. He's wrote one based upon his concerns as to why those records should not be released. Again, you can see that. You can go to SCOTUS.gov and read his dissenting argument. So again, Justice Clarence Thomas was the only one who noted as a dissent. All others voted to release those records. This piece, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this piece again from Martin Kelly, who is fabulous in unpacking this. I'll put the link in the thread so that you can look at that as well. Good morning, Pastor Antoinette. All right, y'all. So we hopefully all of you did order your COVID at home test. Again, that link is www.covidtest.gov. You get up to 4 per address. If you try to order more for that address, it'll block that address. So I was trying to order some for my parents. They blocked my address, but I was able to put their address in and they can be sent to them. So you do have to be careful the information that you're putting there. Thank you, Marian, for putting that in there. Now, in talking about the COVID test, we want to get out this whole self-test piece. When you're using the test, Make sure you are using it correctly. And with that, we have our video, our commercial by the CDC. So take a look.
Hi, my name is Keisha. If you have COVID-19 symptoms or think you've been exposed to someone with COVID-19, you should get a COVID-19 test. This applies even if you are vaccinated. Using a self-test or home or at-home test can be a quick way to get results. You can use the self-test anywhere to find out if you have COVID-19. You can buy self-tests at a pharmacy or other retail store, and some self-tests are available without a prescription. Here are some tips on COVID-19 self-tests. Follow instructions for storing the test until you are ready to use. When you are ready to use the test, check the expiration date and kit components. Don't use expired tests or components that are damaged. Disinfect the surface where you will complete the test and wash your hands. Follow the instructions to collect your specimen, perform the test, and wait for the result. Throw away the collection swab once finished. Don't reuse test devices or other components. Disinfect the surfaces where you completed the test and wash your hands. Remember, even if you are fully vaccinated, CDC recommends that you get a COVID-19 test if you have COVID-19 symptoms or think you've been exposed to someone with COVID-19. Thanks for doing your part to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. For more information, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus.
So again, make sure you're following the instructions and the directions on all COVID tests. Tests should begin shipping out within the next 7 to 10 days. You may even get yours sooner. We don't know, but make sure you look for, there's some things that they're asking you to look for, that the boxes have not been compromised, that your box is still securely sealed, and also that when you have to open it, you scan it and you go online. If you are with, say, people who are without a computer, you can take your computer over to them to help them, but make sure that you are masked up, you have gloves on, and you practice social distancing as much as you can while you're helping them administer their tests. So please be mindful of all of those things with that. All right, y'all. So that's still happening. We're at a peak in the U.S. In some areas where Omicron was presented early on, mostly on the East Coast, excuse me. But now they're gearing up, and I don't know if this is I think I'm tired too. Many of us are tired of COVID, but we have to still make sure we're doing our part. But they're now already talking about spring breakers and how the numbers could uptick again, but we're not even going to claim that. We're just going to say, no, that's not going to happen. So there's masks that are coming out, and they want you to make sure that you have the correct mask. The Biden administration facing calls from public health experts to distribute high quality masks to the American people, they shared on Wednesday. That's making 400 million non-surgical N95 masks. They're making those available. Now they're saying to you, hopefully you can see that those letters there, NIOSH. An N95 mask, a real N95 mask should have those initials NIOSH on them. That's one way of knowing you have the correct N95 mask. The other thing, you see the double double bands, they do not go over your ear, they go over your head. That's another indication that you have an official N95 mask. Okay, so again, NIOSH. And then the double bands. They're saying the bands that go behind your ear, although it may say N95, it may not be the strongest quality of an N95 mask. So some of you are saying, what's the difference between an N95 mask and a KN95 mask? I'm glad you asked. So what's the difference? The KN95 mask is situated a little differently, and you will not necessarily see those initials NIOSH, although some have it. The other thing of the difference are the grades. Some of them are 95% effective and some of them are a little lower. So there you have it. But they're trying to make these 400 million non-surgical masks available free of charge at community health centers, retail pharmacies across the US. They're trying to make sure when they pass them out, they're not giving all of them to the same person. And they're also trying to look at how to make sure you're not reselling them on the web. You got to make sure. Let me see what some of you are saying. Thank you so much, Marion, for putting the URLs out there. Davia is saying it was a good move to use the U.S. Postal Service. If done well, it will show reliability. Yeah, I agree with you there. Absolutely. So you just want to listen, y'all. Do not resell them. Now, with the test kits, you can sell. With the masks, you can't sell. Not the free test kits, including. Let me think. I'm looking at them putting stuff in here. The free test kits from the government, you cannot resell. You cannot resell those. The masks from the government, you cannot resell those either. So please be careful with those things. All right, let's get to voting. Let's get to that. I watched this unfold last night, and it was heavy. It was heavy. So let's start with this quote. I think the tragedy is that we have a Congress with the Senate that has a minority of misguided senators who will use the filibuster to keep the majority of people from even voting. Also, May 1957, King's speech in D.C., Give Us the Ballot speech. King called MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., called the right to vote one of the highest mandates of our democratic tradition. And then along with that, in that speech, he gave a quote, keep moving amid every obstacle, amid every mountain of opposition. So let's unpack this if we can. And I promise to do this as fast as possible. My goal is to be done by 8 o'clock. All right. We still have radio host and activist Joe Madison. He has now passed his 68th day of his hunger strike. And he's saying he's going to continue the hunger strike until something is done. The faith leaders, I don't have an update on them if they're continuing the hunger strike as well. But Joe Madison has come out saying he's going to continue this. If you want to learn more about some of the things that are happening, and Marion, if you can put this URL in there, that'd be great. www.civilrights.org. Again, www.civilrights.org. I see you, Mike Nicholson. I'm not going no 9 o'clock, but y'all just pause just for a moment. I was just looking. I literally would sit on the sofa when we started in my office and do a 5-minute highlight video of news. And then I would go over to Instagram and do it there as well. And then it grew. It has been growing ever since June the 22nd, 2020. I have tried, and Davia knows this, I was trying when I came back in September to take it back down to 10 minutes. It never worked. So what we've done, for those of you who still want to watch the video and not listen to the audio, we have crafted News in Motion to give the highlights, the headline news in the first 5 to 10 minutes. And then we go into the other news. Now, there's some days we give headline news throughout the entire broadcast, but that's how we have crafted this so that those of you who still just want to hit the headline news can. There's some other things I can't really share with you right now, but we're looking at some different things. But anyway, so yeah, I saw that, Mike Nicholson. I saw that. All right, y'all, the voting rights bill and the Dems push to change Senate rules in order to pass the bill died yesterday on Capitol Hill, last night. We had our two moderates, Krista Sinema and Joe Manchin, who blocked, as well as all of the Senate who blocked. Now, what's really important to see here, Emily's List, when y'all get a chance, Google it, Emily's List, which is emilylist.org or .com, I believe. They backed Krista Sinema because of her progressive policies on her platform. They gave her a whole lot of money. They have since taken out a whole page saying they would never give her another dollar. They're like, no, no. And they feel as if they were used and taken advantage of. There are other people who are pulling their money. She may even be primary. Yeah. She just got in, so still she has some time there. But people are in an outrage with her. Joe Manchin, he's West Virginia, so we don't know what that's going to look like. But there are people upset with him. But the more we dig into it, and I went looking, y'all know me, I will go look in a moment. There are a lot of Republican donors funding Kristen Sinema, and Joe Manchin. There are a lot of Republicans funding them. So I want to go back to this. When it's time for these, I know you're getting all of these emails. I know the moment you put your name out there, you're getting emails. Just delete them or set up an email that you know is going to just be political emails that you go in there whenever you want to. Dr. Antoinette said Emily's List also sent text messages to those of us on their list. They did. I received one. Y'all did. They're like, don't stop. Don't give her not another dime. Now, is she going to be pushed up against the wall? Well, possibly, but the Republicans are paying. But if she is primary, believe me, she will lose. She will lose. Joe Manchin on the other end, we don't know. There's a whole lot of money that he's West Virginia. But with that being said, we have a responsibility, you all, to start funding these other campaigns. It can be $1. Again, set up an email where all of those particular emails go so that you don't have to look at it when you want to. Do a Yahoo or Gmail account. Just put your name and put politics. I don't have this one, but I could do Gail politics@gmail.com and knowing that all the political emails are going there. And no, I don't have that email that are going there. So that way I only have to look at it when I want to. But here's how we're going to be able to make a difference. Number one, we need to understand and start communicating with people today that the rules are going to change, because they are. Already 11 Alive Atlanta, the Georgia legislator is now considering a bill with the hopes to pass it in February to eliminate absentee ballot drop boxes throughout the state of Georgia, to eliminate all of them. Even an elderly person in Riverdale, Georgia, which I'm very familiar with. My church was there when I lived in that area. Elderly person who is Republican came out and said, but hey, I used that. That's what has allowed me to vote. Don't take that away. So they even have some of their own constituents who are saying, don't do that. But they're planning to eliminate them. They're the boxes that first appeared pretty much in 2020 as an alternative to in-person voting during the pandemic. They used them again even last year. But now they're talking about taking away, eliminating all of them. They're not the only ones. Wisconsin is considering the same thing. Texas is considering the same thing. And others are considering the same thing. The new Virginia governor's considering the same thing. So we're going to have to start educating people. What you did in 2020 more than likely will not be available in 2022 for the primaries. So we have to encourage people to figure out what's your alternative. The other thing I want all of us to do, who's able to do it, is to go to eac.gov and become a poll worker. Y'all, there's training. There's usually a stipend that's involved. Now, it's a long day. It's a long day. You have to get there, I believe it's an hour and a half before the polls open, and you don't leave until everything has been validated and closed. But y'all, we have to be on the ground and ready. Now, they're already talking in Florida to closing all of these lower income areas polling locations. And again, as I shared yesterday, why are you trying so hard? Why do you wish to do this? What is it? See, we came out in big numbers. And when I say we, Black and brown people, are allies, those who are saying this is not right, we showed up, we stood in line. And I gave y'all a list. And yes, we had fun about it, like no mayo, no tights, no deviled eggs, and this, that, and the other, and have water. Y'all, for real, this year, we're going to have to make sure we're putting that out there. We are, because I can't go up to somebody in a line and give them water. Y'all, Ohio has a law, and I'm trying to unpack it. But in Ohio, it's like they passed something, but I can't get the full details yet. And it's supposed to be public knowledge. So why can't I get those details? Are they still working on it? I have no idea. So I have heavy hitters in the state of Ohio trying to help me unfold what is really out there. It's almost like they're in different pieces. And I'm like, well, where's the one bill? But it's like there's been multiple bills. So even that is a game that's being played so that you don't really identify what's going on. I have no problem presenting an ID. I have no problem. But here's a question I have for you, and I want all of you to think about it. I started thinking about my parents. They're both 86. You know, my mom's been in and out of the hospital. She's not out. She's out of the hospital, but she doesn't come out of the house. Her driver's license will have expired, although she doesn't drive anymore. Her driver's license will have expired before the election. What's she do? What's she gonna do? What's she gonna need? How is she gonna vote? They don't have computers, and I can take my computer over there, but what these are the questions we need to start asking and unpacking. And we need to start doing that now. So I'm beating a dead horse here, but I'm gonna keep saying it, and you'll probably really hate me by November. But listen, are you registered to vote? And I'm encouraging all of us to ask 5 people every month, at minimum 5 people every month, are you registered to vote? Yesterday, and I'm gonna get to the speech. Yesterday, I was coming out of Kroger's, and I live in Central Ohio. For those of you who don't know, I was coming out of Kroger's on Polaris Parkway. Polaris Parkway is going into a suburban neighborhood, and there was a Black gentleman who was walking, and I was on the Target side at first, and then I went down to the Kroger side. So he had walked a long way, and he was going to different cars and asking people to help him, this, that, and the other. Now, my family and my husband tells me I need to stop doing what I do, but I can't help it. They're like, girl, you gotta be street smart. And I am to some degree, but anyway. So this young man, I finally just said, sir, what are you doing? You can't do that out here. You're going to end up in jail in the Delaware County area. You can't, that ain't a jail you want to be in, number one. Number two, are you registered to vote? And I don't know what made me ask him that question, but I asked him that question. I said, what are you? He's like, no, ma'am, I'm not ready to register to vote. I said, first thing I need you to do for you, ask another person another $1 to get on your cell phone and register to vote. I said, just go to vote.gov. And he looked at me. He said, but are you going to help me? Well, we're going to get to that in a moment. And I'm technically helping you now. Register to vote. Just register to vote. I said, now, the second thing, what do you need? Well, I need some food. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over here. There's this restaurant called Chewy's. I'm going to go over here to Chewy's, and I'm going to get you a gift card, and you go in there and eat. He said, well, they're not going to let me in there because they said I've been asking people for money. All right, I'm going to go in the Target. I'm going to get you a gift card. I'm going to go in the Kroger. I'm going to get you a gift card. Well, he didn't want any of those things. So then I couldn't help him because it wasn't just about the money. I was trying to get him to have some food. But I brought him back to voting. I said, look, get you a job. Do what you need to do. He said, there's no jobs available. That's a lie. Wendy's right here, they even giving you a $2,500 sign-on bonus. He said, yeah, but I got to work there 30 days first. That's a start. So y'all, this is our education that we have to do. And we just cannot be quick to give to people. We have to help them navigate where they're headed and what they're doing. So when we get to the presidential press conference, which was 1 hour and 54 minutes, he came back to a reporter, which was really key. He kept coming back, and at one point he lost it on them. I love this about President Biden, is that he's not going to let you just come out with a lie, although he used to do it all the time. He's not going to let you come out and just lie on him. He's going to shut it down. So he says about the 95% of schools, the person was trying to say all these schools are closed, and he says, stop. He came back. He said, stop. He said 95% of schools remain open, and he was clear to how reporters will phrase questions so that the people are listening publicly are thinking that those schools must be closed. Here's a fact check. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed an executive order Tuesday to allow state employees to work as substitute teachers while keeping their current jobs. And yesterday, New Mexico Governor Michelle Grisham even asked the National Guard to help grade papers of personal essays. Now, given that there's Zoom and officials and so forth and so on, they are saying they're going to keep their schools open. And now the truth of the matter is there's about 70% of the schools that are closed. There are 7,030 schools. So he was off of 2 percentage points, but he was very close. So it's not half the schools in America. It's not even 70% of the schools in America. It's a small fraction. It's a small fraction. It's about 70% of the schools that are closed. Now, another thing he pulled out was when he was asking, what is Mitch for? There was a question that came on the floor, and he said, well, what is Mitch for? What is he for when dealing with Russia? What is he for? He said, what are they for? Now, he said he was going to do 3 things. He's going to do public forums. He's going to get out of the office more and talk to the people. He's going to do more town hall meetings. He said he's going to be bringing in more and more advice from those who are constituents and those who are experts and those who are outside. He wants to seek input. I raise my hand. Can you please call me because I want to help you with your messaging. Then he says he's going to get deeply involved in the off-year elections by making sure the truth is out there of what has actually been happening within the White House administration. So he says something about we went from 2 million people being vaccinated when he was sworn in to 210 million Americans being fully vaccinated. That was key. He said we've created 6 million new jobs. That was key. He said unemployment has dropped. That is key. Child poverty dropped nearly 40%. The actual number is 36.9%. When you fact check, you see it. So even as I give you this, you have to see it. I want you to look it up as well. For the first time in a long time, he says this country's working people actually got a raise. And then he kept on saying, actually got a raise. I was like, Joe, let me fact check you there. And I don't have a problem calling him out. They got a raise because people need employees. And so they're trying to keep their employees. So they gave them the money. Let's talk about where it really came from. I understand it's still a win, but let's give the facts here. That helps with messaging. Give the facts as to how it happened, and then take that back to your Congress. He talked about they just made surprise medical bills illegal in the country. They did do that. They did that last week. He talks about those unexpected bills that you get $2,000, $5,000 from the hospital. He said no more. They're now illegal. You can't get those bills from a consultation where they now charge you $7,500 for it. Trust me, I've had a bill like that. I'm like, what is this for? He talked about the American Rescue Plan. He talked about the infrastructure bill. He talked about now breaking that up to get that passed. That's what he's talking about. He talked about Omicron. He talked about COVID, of course. He talked about people and their dire needs. He talked about the inflation. He talked about Pfizer, the pills. He talked about the lockdowns, that there not going to be any more lockdowns. There's not going to be any more. He said that is his plan. There will not be any more lockdowns. Trying to see something else he talked about. I thought it was so key. And that was, I'm looking for it because I know my time is running out. Allison Harris asked a question. She says, Mr. President, speaking of voting rights legislation, if it isn't passed, which we now know it wasn't, do you still believe the upcoming election will be fairly conducted and its results will be legitimate? This was his response. And I want to get to this before we sign off. He said, well, it all depends on whether or not we're able to make the case to the American people that some of this is being set up to try to alter the outcome of the election. And it's one thing. Then he goes, look, maybe I'm just being too much of an optimist. He said, remember how we thought that not many people were going to show up to vote in the middle of the pandemic. He said we had the highest voter turnout in the history of the United States of America, which is a true statement. He said, well, I think if in fact, no matter how hard they make it for minorities to vote, I think you're going to see them willing to stand in a line and defy the attempt to keep them from being able to vote. He said, I think you're going to see the people who are trying to keep from being able to showing up and making a sacrifice that needs to be made in order to change the law back to what it should be. He said, but it's going to be difficult. I make no bones about it. It's going to be difficult, but we're not there yet. We're not running out of option yet. and we will see how this moves. So he sent the message that no matter what it is you're trying to do, it's going to come back. Look at Georgia, look at Philadelphia, look at Michigan, look at all of these places that had lines for hours. He's like, I don't think you can do that. And I started thinking, and this is, I'm going into my inspirational message. I started thinking about his response. And I thought about the fact that I went to this whole thing with Moses and Pharaoh, let my people go. Just let's let them go. And the hearts kept being hardened. But where we are as citizens of the United States of America, that's the majority of our viewers, where we are right now, I see the Senate's hearts continue to be hardened. But we have a responsibility as a people to keep praying that God will soften their hearts. We can't throw in the towel. But as we are praying, I also believe we have to be strategic. And again, being strategic is, what do we need to do individually and collectively right now? There's tons of sites I've given you. I'm going to continue to give those to you. We are now in the process of partnering with some of them. And once we get the final partnership in writing, I will reveal those things. How we can become ambassadors with News in Motion to do the work that we need to do, not by ourselves, but in conjunction with other people who are already doing the work. There's so much work to be done, but we cannot just look at it and say, oh, this is a done deal. This is over. No, here's our opportunity to put our faith in action. We say that we walk by faith and not by sight. Well, now it's time for us to actually walk by faith and not by sight. Again, give us the ballot, the speech in DC by the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Keep moving amid every obstacle, amid every mountain of opposition. Yeah, you can get upset. You can throw up your hands. You can lay back and say, I'm tired. But okay, take 24 hours, but come back in, because we need you to fight. The key is going to be, and I'm going to outline this and I'm off of here. The key is going to be our educating other people. And don't just think that the younger people are the ones who need educating. There are people that I talk with every day that they're shocked by it. Many of you know I was on a panel on this past Sunday with the National Association of Black Psychologists. And at first, and I'll be honest with y'all, there's a transparent moment, I was intimidated. Like, all of them on this panel has a PhD. I don't. And I was like, what is happening? And my husband said to me, they called you. They called you. So what are you worried about? Even after the speech yesterday, I had people from that panel calling me saying, you told us that on Sunday. And I said, yeah. They're like, how do you know all this information? Because I love the work that I do. I love it. But in saying that, there were many people who were tuning in to that panel saying, I had no idea of that. I had no idea of the carve-out rule. I had no idea of the closure rule, the Byrd rule. I had no idea how many steps were to the filibuster. I had no idea that there were 16 Republican GOP who voted for this previously. I had no idea. I had no idea. And that alone said, all right, this is a season that I continue the education, but I can't do it alone. We're going to have to do it together. But y'all, there are a lot of people who have no idea that after you vote, what happens in those chambers. And if we start educating people on what's happening, maybe people will be eager enough to stand in line for hours to vote. Here's something else that God showed me. This is the inspirational message. God will use the least of these to help serve in a time of crisis. Don't miss that. God will use the least of these to serve in a time of crisis. People aren't listening to Joe Biden because they feel as if he did not fulfill his promise. People aren't listening to Vice President Kamala Harris. They're not listening to her. People are no longer listening to Chuck Schumer. It's like he's not getting anything done. People think the Congress is a joke. Now, they do listen to Nancy Pelosi, and they do listen to Joyce Beatty, and they do listen to some others. They're not even listening to AOC. She was a voice for the longest. They're not listening to her. They're not listening. So who will they listen to? I believe people will listen. This is what I heard from the Spirit of the Lord, that the people will begin to listen to those of us who are doing the education, who are showing the facts, who are speaking truth without the propaganda. All right, y'all, that's all I have. I am Gail Dudley. This has been your News in Motion. Y'all do what you do today. Remember to wash your hands, wear your face mask, practice social distancing, get boosted up if you haven't already done so. Hello, somebody. And just make some bold moves. We will see you on Monday. Again, Daquan Love was unable to be with us today. He is executive director of the state of Virginia NAACP. Hopefully we can get him on in the next week or two. He had an emergency. So not sure what that is, but let's just keep him in our prayers as well. I have been your host, Gail Dudley. I'm out. I will see you Monday.